Hello, welcome to CET 4884. In this session, we will continue addressing detection methods used by the IDBSs. Um, then we will address selecting the proper IDBS for the organization. In addition, we will address the strengths and limitations of the IDBS. And last, we'll discuss the IDBS implementation. So what methods can be used to detect an intrusion? In the last session, we mentioned signature-based IDBS or IDS as one of the methods. Signature-based intrusion detection system or knowledge-based intrusion detection system examines data traffic in search of patterns that matches known signatures. Each hacker, they have their own signature, their own way of attacking. So those patterns are being actually it can be documented and it can be saved in the database, so you will know who's that signature belong to, and then you will know their method of the attack and how to mitigate or how to fix the attack that's being or that's happening on the organization. So those predetermined attack patterns help in identifying the method of the attack and what will be or what the destruction will be, and then fix it. The signature-based IDS technology is widely used because many attacks have clear and distinct signatures. The problem with the signature-based approach is that as new attack strategies are identified, the IDS database of signature must be continually updated. Otherwise, you will not have the data or the information for the latest strategies or the latest attacks. So if a new attacker with a new signature came, their pattern will not be in the database. So you have to document that, you have to keep that in records, so the data or the knowledge base has to be updated continuously. Another method is statistical anomaly based IDS. The statistical anomaly based IDS or behavior based IDS periodically sample network activity, and using statistical methods compare the sampled network activity to traffic that is known to be normal or the performance baseline. When the measured activity is outside the baseline parameter or climbing level, the IDS will trigger an alert to notify the administrator that there is something wrong in the detected pattern. The data is that's measured from the normal traffic, and it's used to prepare the baseline can include variables such as host memory or CPU usage, network packets types, and packet quantities. The advantage of the statistical anomaly based approach is that the IDS can detect new types of attacks. So you don't have to have in the knowledge base any new attacks or new patterns, because already it can analyze the normal behavior of the network, and any abnormal behavior can be detected. So any type of abnormal activity can be detected, and then an alert will be sent to the administrator. Unfortunately, however, these systems require much more overhead and processing capacity than the signature-based ones, as they must constantly compare patterns of activity against the baseline. Another drawback is that these systems may not detect minor changes to system variables and may generate many false positives. The third method is the stateful protocol analysis, which is similar to the stateful inspection in firewalls. The stateful protocol analysis is the process of comparing predetermined profiles of definitions of activity for each protocol state against observed events to identify deviations. Some of the drawbacks for this method are the analytical complexity of this method, the processing overhead. In addition, it may fail to detect unless protocol violates fundamental behavior, and it may cause problems with protocol that it's examining. A fourth detection method is the log file monitors. A log file monitor is similar to the network IDS and reviews the log files generated by servers, network devices, and even other IDSs for patterns and signatures in the log files that may indicate that an attack or intrusion is in process or has already succeeded. The patterns that signify an attack can be subtle and hard to distinguish when one system is examined in isolation. But they may be much easier to identify when the entire network and its systems are viewed holistically. Of course, this approach would require the allocation of considerable resources since it will involve the collection, movement, storage, and analysis of very large quantities of log data. Once an IDS detects an anomalous network situation using any of the previous methods, it has a number of options depending on the policy and objectives of the organization that has configured it as well as the capabilities of the organization's system. So the IDS responses can be classified as active or passive. An active response is one in which definitive action is initiated when certain types of alerts are triggered. IDSs with passive response options simply report the information they have already collected and wait for the administrator to take action. Those actions or those alerts can be audible or visual alerts or alarms, can be trap and plugins, can be email messages, can be page or phone message, can be a log entry, can be evidentiary packet dump, can take action against the intruder, launch program, reconfigure firewall, terminate session, or terminate connection. And again, it can be done automatically or configured automatically where the system will actively respond, or an alert or alarm can be sent to the administrator and the administrator can take one of these actions to stop the intrusion or to reverse the action that was done to the system. To select the proper IDBS or IDS approach and product, we need to look at the wide array of intrusion detection products available today that addresses a broad range of organizational security goals and considerations. Usually you go to the internet and you review whatever available. You look at the reviews for these products, whether it's software, hardware. You can contact actually the provider where they can come and present for you or give you like a free trial for 2 weeks to look at the different IDSs or IDPSs system, and then once you review them, you can do some kind of training, educational awareness for those type of devices. So there are many things that you can do to select, but at the end you have to present as information officer. You have to present all that to the upper management and show them the pros and cons for each software or hardware or IDS system, and then um, you can or they can select the proper IDS. So with that range of products and features, the process of selecting products that represents the best fit for any specific organization needs is very, very challenging. Actually, the following questions may be useful when preparing a specification for acquiring and deploying an intrusion detection product. So you can say, what are the requirements that are imposed from outside the organization? Those questions can assist the organization on selecting the proper tool or the proper IDS system that can support the organization. We can ask, is your organization subject to oversight or review by another organization? Are you going to be audited? If you are going to be audited, maybe you need software that can generate for you some kind of reporting system, reports over the year that will show the due diligence and you care. Are there requirements for public access to information on your organization system? If there is public access, then what do you need to do to isolate the public access from the main servers? Are there other security specific requirements that levied by the law? Is the system subject to accreditation? Are there requirements for law enforcement, investigation, and resolution of security incidents? Also, we can ask questions related to organizational constraints, limitations. What are the organization resource constraints? What's the budget for acquisition and life cycle support for of the intrusion detection hardware, software, and infrastructure? Is there sufficient existing staff to monitor an IDS full time? If you are going to buy those machines or those devices, do you have people to monitor and to configure, or you need a third party to do that? Does your organization have authority to instigate changes based on the findings of an IDS system? IDS's products or product features and quality, we can look at the each IDS features and also use that as a way to identify which product will work for me. So we can look at the products and based on the features, and this is one of the things that will assist me in choosing the proper IDS system or IDPS system for the organization, and ask questions. Is the product sufficiently scalable for our environment? What if we want to expand? So is it scalable? Could it be expand with the expansion of the organization? How has the product been tested? Has the product been tested against functional requirements, or has the product been tested against attack? So we can ask the vendors for details of security testing to which its product have been subjected, and they have to show us the results. They have to show the organization the results of the testing that they made to convince the organization of buying that product. What's the user level of the expertise targeted by the product? Is the product designed to evolve as the organization grows? Can the product adapt to growth in user expertise? Can the product adapt to growth and change of the organization's system infrastructure? Can the product adapt to growth and change of the security threat environment? New threats evolving and new attacks, new signatures. Would that work with that system? What are the support provisions of for that product? What are commitments for product installation and configuration support? What are commitments for ongoing product support? Are you going to send updates like annual updates for the system to keep it up to date? Do we need to change the hardware or software at a certain point? Does the company who is selling the IDS have the support and can configure for you those machines? Do we need a subscription for the update? How quickly after a new attack is made public will that vendor will ship to you the new signature or update the knowledge base? Are the software updates included, or do I need to pay annual fees for updating the software? How quickly will software updates and patches be issued after a problem is reported to the vendor? Are technical support services included? What are the contact provisions for contacting technical support? Are there any guarantees associated with the IDS? What training resources does the vendor provide as part of the product? If it's hard to use, you need training. What additional training resources are available from the vendor and at what cost? Would it be included, or do I need to pay extra money for that? All these questions will assist me in identifying the features and the quality of the IDS or IDPS system that I will be using in my company. In this slide and the next 3 slides, you will see a list of strengths and limitations of the IDPS functions. You can read through these slides yourself. If you have any issues understanding one of these strengths or the limitations, please let me know. It's just just list of the functions and strengths and limitations for the IDPS systems. To deploy or implement an IDPS, a control strategy must be adapted. There are 3 basic control strategies that can be used to implement an IDS or IDPS. Centralized IDPS control strategy, or all IDPS's control functions are implemented and managed in a central location. Fully distributed IDPS control strategy, control functions are applied at the physical location of each IDPS component. Partially distributed IDPS control strategy combines the two, while the individual agents can still analyze the respond to local threats. They report to a hierarchical central facility to enable the organization to detect the widespread attacks. A control strategy determines how an organization exerts influence and maintains the configuration of an IDPS system. Like the decision regarding control strategies, the decision about where to locate the elements of the intrusion detection and prevention system can be an art in itself. Just having those machines, those devices, those software at certain places is an art, is a design, is a way to increase efficiency and reduce the cost by using minimum devices, minimum software, minimum tools. You can monitor the whole software. So as an organization selects an IDPS and prepares the implementation, planner must select a deployment strategy that is based on careful analysis of the organization's information security requirements and integrates with the organization's existing IT infrastructure, but at the same time it can causes minimal impact when you install them. You don't need downtime for the machines, for the system, for the organization, for the operations within the organization. You try to integrate efficiently and without any downtime for those operations. The network IDS and the host IDS can be used in tandem to cover both the individual systems that connect to an organization networks and the networks themselves. Usually we don't select one method, we don't select one IDPS system. We select more than one way, more than one method, more than one strategy, because each one of them covers certain area. So we would like to be diverse in our implementation to make sure that we are covering all kind of attacks or protecting the company's assets. When deploying network-based IDPS, there are four recommended locations for the sensors. Location number one, behind each external firewall in the network DMZ. IDPS sees attacks that originate from the outside world and may penetrate the network parameter defenses. The IDPS can identify problems with the network firewall policy or performance. IDPS sees attacks that might target the web server or FTP server, both of which commonly reside in this DMZ area, the demilitarized zone. Even if the incoming attack is not detected, the IDS can sometimes recognize in the outgoing traffic patterns that suggests that the server has been compromised. Location number two, outside an external firewall. The IDPS documents the number of attacks originating on the internet that target the network. The IDPS documents the types of attacks originating on the internet that target the network. Location number three, on major network backbones, where the IDPS monitors a large amount of network traffic, thus increasing its chances of spotting attacks. The IDPS detects unauthorized activity by authorized users within the organization's security parameter. The fourth location, on critical subnets, where the IDPS detects attacks targeting critical systems and resources. Location allows organization with limited resources to focus on those resources or to focus these resources on the network assets considered of greatest value. So mostly we need to focus the IDPSs that we have, those resources that we have on network assets, and protect those assets, those organizational assets, as much as we can. For deploying the host-based IDS, the proper implementation of the host IDPSs can be painstaking and a time-consuming task, as each host IDS or IDPS must be custom configured to its host system. Now remember that the host IDPS will be on a machine, so it will be configured based on that machine, based on that server, based on that computer. So we need to configure each one of them individually or custom made it individually. Deployment begins with implementing the most critical systems first. If I have a server that has a lot of information, then I will configure that server first, and then I will go to the least and then the least. Installation continues until either all systems are installed or the organization reaches the planned degree of coverage it's willing to live with. Maybe I don't have to implement the host-based IDPS on all systems. The organization can decide that this is the degree that I like, that we're covered like this, and maybe if we need other coverage, then we will look at that later on. With regards to the number of systems or percentage of network traffic, the organization will decide on how many systems will be covered, what will be the percentage. Am I covering 50% of the organization, 25%, or should I cover 100% of the organization, because all systems that I have within the organization are critical and important. So again, that's a decision for the management, upper management, and for the organization. Just as technicians can install the host IDPSs in offline systems to develop expertise and identify potential problems. Users and managers can gain expertise and understanding of the operation or operations of the host IDPS by using a test facility. While we're doing that, while we are installing the software, hardware, we can train other employees within the company on how to use it and what will be the alert or triggers that we have. So in the next session, we will measure the effectiveness of implementing and deploying different IDPSs, different methods, and we will address more IDPS methods. So that will be all for this session. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you and have a great day.